Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to you if you are new. Today's video is the second part of a two-part chat that I've had with a new friend of mine, Lauren Kress, aka The Cheat Sheets, all the way from Australia. Loz reached out to me after seeing some of my content on here, which is amazing, and asked if I'd be up for having a chat about what it's like to be non-binary, because we don't really talk to each other. I mean, to be fair, I don't really talk to anyone, so this is just a real treat for you all. If you haven't already, please check out the first part of this video because then it will all make sense. I'll put the link in the description box below along with Loz's channel, so please check out their other videos when you can because they are awesome. Without further delay, let's carry on with the conversation. Some of the things are including the difficulties when it comes to different languages, trans umbrellas and sexuality buckets, and when we feel like our most gender euphoric, authentic selves. Let's go.
This is YouTube, right? There's people that can watch from any country. I've been learning Italian, and I'm like, in Italian, there's even like, so it's a gendered language. So French, Spanish, I think isn't as much, but it still is to some degree. Lots of languages don't have like even a table. It's like that's a masculine object, that's a feminine object. So I'm like, I've been trying to look for solutions. One for me as I'm learning this language, and I love Italian. My family's Italian. I love the Italian language. But then I'm like, they even have a masculine and a feminine form of non-binary. Like the word non-binary. There's like non-binario, which is masculine, and non-binaria, which is the feminine version. I'm like, you're in Europe, like, what do you think?
Well, yes. So your European delegate says, no, my wife is actually Italian. I don't know if you know that. And I asked her because when we go back to Italy to see her family, I haven't actually told her parents that I'm non-binary.
Yep.
Because I don't see the point, because there isn't any language to help with that. I'm sure they would try to do something, but so when we go there, they are constantly misgendering me because I can understand enough to know that they're calling me she all the time. There's no language to use apart from written. You can, if it's written, you put an X instead of the A or the O. So in a written language you can write non-gendered, but not verbally. So that must be really tough. But I should imagine, because she's got a niece, and I think she has got non-binary friends, so I should imagine that younger people have probably started to create maybe their own language or something. I have to speak to her about it more and see if there is, but I don't know how to get around that, because as you say, everything is gendered. Everything.
I didn't know your wife was Italian, but I think I saw in a YouTube video that you said your wife spoke Italian. So I had written that question going, I think you'll have some insight because of that. So that's, I mean, and you do. Like, it's one of the things, I came across the X thing as well, and I did, see that, like, I read some Italian articles on it, because I asked someone a YouTuber actually, who is his whole channel is about like speaking Italian, and he sent me some interesting articles, and I was like, they talked about, like, you listen to how the person refers to themselves, and they might sort of switch between the two. So they might sometimes refer to them in the masculine and feminine. But the other thing I kind of thought, and interested to see how you feel about this, is like, again, going back to the thing where it's sort of like, well, either way, regardless of whether a language has caught up with the times or not, like, you are still non-binary. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's sort of like that. I wanted to bring that question up because I thought, like, I feel like people watching this who might feel like this is really frustrating because we don't have that language in their native, like, tongue. Like, it's like, you're still just as valid. It's not like if you can use pronouns, you're more valid, I just feel like that's an important thing to say, because I feel like sometimes when we use that language of misgendered, it sounds like, I don't know, like it's something to be corrected, like we've been talking about, but it's like you're still valid in your identity, and we're like coming up with more and more words all the time, right?
Yeah, until we live in a world where nothing's gendered, which I don't think that's going to be in our lifetime.
I was going to say in our lifetime.
In our lifetime, or maybe the next one. But as you say, it doesn't matter if it's how you feel about yourself and how the ones that you love feel about you, and it's about us and how we feel. That's who we are.
I think that's actually been one of the things as well that for me, when I have had people close to me who dig their heels in about the pronouns, I do still get validation from them in a way that I think is really, that helps at least, because those people in my life, and I don't want to say anyone in particular, but
the best ones are.
Yeah, and name and shame. Let's go. I have said things like, I'm so glad that you've, figured out this part of yourself. I'm not trying to take anything away from who you are. And I even heard an interview with Mae Martin not that long ago, and they said, like, their parents also really struggle with the pronouns, but had kind of given them that validation. So hearing that from Mae Martin made me feel better, because I was like, okay, so you've got this on. You're sort of like in your parents directly that you're dealing with that. So I was like, okay, all right, like this is it doesn't take away anything. Can I ask you one more question and then you can ask me a question?
Sure.
Is that okay? I know we're sort of going out of order now, but I feel like I've been talking, so I'll the question. You're saying things that I'm just like, oh, yes. You said this at the beginning, and I think we're similar on this, but I think it's worth talking about for viewers. There's non-binary and trans, and like some trans people will identify as non-binary, some non-binary people also identify as trans, and then some people sort of identify as either or. So for you, what do you identify as, and how do you kind of see those two different identities?
Identities, if you look at all the research of what all the labels and everything, oh my god, there's so many labels.
There's
and
so
you've got
many
the two umbrellas or loads of umbrellas, and technically, in some of them, the big umbrella non-binary falls under trans, because trans technically is not identifying with the sex that you're assigned at birth. So being non-binary, I don't identify with the sex that I was at birth. However, if you don't feel comfortable or don't want to identify as being trans, fine. For me, if someone asks, I have a strong bond and connection with people that are trans, and I have no problem saying that I am trans, and you can be trans and not have taken any hormones, have any operations. Again, it's what you define as yourself. I think when I first came out as non-binary, I just said that I was non-binary. But I think for myself, with my whole journey and me thinking that I was trans when I was younger, maybe not thinking I was, I didn't know what I was, or I think maybe I want to be a boy, maybe I don't. I feel a stronger connection with my masculine side than I do with my feminine side. So I personally relate more to the trans non-binary identity. But it's a very personal thing, as in you can label yourself however you want to, whatever fits and feels best. I don't think there's any strict rules about it, unless you look at the diagrams with the umbrella.
Yeah, the umbrella diagrams are. It's the same with like I remember seeing because I used to think I was bisexual for a long time, and then I was like, no, I'm gay. And when I looked at sort of bisexuality and really dug into that, it was like bisexuality is the big umbrella, and then pansexuality falls under that, and there's like a whole heap of other identities within that as well.
Yeah.
But some people would very strongly say, no, I'm pansexual, I'm not bisexual. And that's totally valid as well, and I think that's also to do with the term itself, like binary. I think even the sound of it is kind of like grates for some people.
Mm.
The umbrellas are always interesting, aren't they?
Yeah. Oh yeah, love an umbrella.
For me, I actually went to this work. We had like this have you heard of Ida Hobbit Day? I think that's how you say it. It's like stands for this long thing. It might be an Australian thing. Anyway, it's sort of like it's like fighting sort of homophobia, basically, is the I can't remember how they came up with all the different letters.
Wow.
So we had this like
mega acronym.
mega acronym. So we had this like 45-minute sort of just like chat between a couple of people about a few things to raise awareness about homophobia, transphobia, how to be an ally, those kinds of things. And the umbrellas came out, and it was also sort of like buckets, like so one was like gender identity, and then another bucket was gender experience. And gender experience had two options. It had cis and it had trans. And then, under gender identity, there was like non-binary, woman, man, like that. Yeah. So I was like, I actually said in the thing, I was like, oh, look, not everyone would put themselves in all of these buckets. Like they wouldn't say, I have a gender experience either way. I'm like, when I saw that, I was like, oh no, I wouldn't relate to either.
No.
No, I'm not putting myself into either of those buckets. And I feel like sometimes it's like the thing that is so liberating to me about being non-binary is it's like I don't have to worry about putting myself in any buckets. And then sometimes and especially like in the early stages of me kind of figuring this out and processing this, I was like, I can't do this anymore because that is like something that I would have done when I was, more feminine presenting, and I can't do this anymore. And I was like, hang on. The whole beauty of this, like what in my experience and what I really feel like is so like I love being non-binary. Actually, really, it's a very been such a positive force in my life. And I'm like, I don't want to, no buckets. I don't want any buckets.
Do not put me in a bucket.
Or a box. It can be a box.
Like, I'd rather be under an umbrella than in a bucket.
Is it my turn to ask a question or your turn to ask a question?
I don't know, but I've got something in my mind which I don't.
Okay, go. You go.
I don't think I've written this down in my list. It's just an off-the-cuff one. Sorry.
That's okay. I've done a few off-the-cuff ones too.
But, yeah. I am interested to know the effect on your partner. Like, for me to kind of answer my own question just to start with. So, I have felt at times bad or guilty to my partner because of what she has to go through, having a partner that's non-binary. Like, it doesn't just affect me. So if she goes, like, for example, going to the hairdressers, or if she gets her nails done or something like that, and they say, oh, how are you doing? So are you married? And then she's like, yeah. Oh, what does your husband do? Or something. And she's like, oh, actually, no, I don't have a husband. Oh, what does your wife do? And then it's like, okay, I'm going to sound fucking mental here if I answer. Actually, I don't have a wife. Like, what the fuck are you married to?
Yeah.
Just things like that. And I think, oh, you have to experience this as well. It's not just me. And sometimes, or at the start, that felt like I felt like a burden to her. So I was just wanting to know if you had any sort of similar experience, if you.
Yeah, so I met my current partner when I was figuring this out. Poor thing. So, and like, you know, I guess I say that because I know what I was like. I think I was like going through a real grieving process. So I would kind of have these like very, you know, up and down moments. And she is someone who she's like no boxes, not even the non-binary box. So she uses she, her pronouns, but she's like, yeah, I'm a person. She wouldn't really describe herself as a woman, but I would call her my girlfriend. She would call me her girlfriend. And so for her, it's like, oh, it's don't, like, you know, it's all nonsense anyway. Like I don't believe in any of that gender stuff, you know? So she's so like, I think it was hard more as in she was like, I don't know what like to do with it. It's because it's like for her, she doesn't even see like, it's like she doesn't even see gender at all, you know.
But
And
do you? I don't mean this. Do you find that a little bit dismissive of
so at
your
the time,
identity, or like?
yeah,
Because
at the
just because
time,
I've had that as well, in that my partner again is like, well, gender is a social construct. I don't believe in any of it.
yeah,
I think I'm non-binary then, because I don't, you know, which fine, everyone can feel how they feel, and
yeah,
I agree that there shouldn't be any sort of gender, and it's just made up crap.
mm,
But she doesn't mind being called a she.
mm, mm,
So I feel like it is different, and I don't want to be dismissed in that it's a different situation for me, actually. But
yeah,
I agree with what she's
yeah,
saying.
yeah. I definitely felt dismissed, like 100%. And sometimes still I will, but I think I know my partner so much better now that I'm like, you know, when you kind of develop your own language and you're kind of like, oh, I know what you mean by this. I know. And also like we have very different cultural backgrounds as well. So my partner's originally from India. So English is her second language, but she started speaking English when she was 3. But even the way that English is spoken in India is different to how it's spoken in Australia. And then she lived in America and they speak a different version of
Wow.
English as well.
Oh, wow.
It's
Okay.
even like that kind of, sometimes it was like, hang on, like, oh, like we would have these fights about other words, like that had nothing to do with gender. Like I'd be like, what do you mean you think I'm a proud person? And she's like, no, like that's a good thing. I'm like, that's not a good thing, you know. So we would have these kind of bizarre fights. And you know, sometimes that is like one of the things, you know, in relationships, like when you come from different cultural backgrounds, that can be such a tricky thing to navigate.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, I used to be like, no, but like, no, you don't understand. The masculine and the feminine does mean something to me. Like, even though it also annoys me that that's a thing that we use, I'm like, it does mean something because I feel it in my body. Like I know how it feels. And that was something that we just don't have the same experiences. And I think I felt like, oh, for someone to be close to me, I want them to know what I'm experiencing. And now I'm like, actually, no, part of the beautiful thing is that we all have different experiences. And like, I can tell my story and I feel safe to share it, but I don't have to be related. And that's what she kept saying to me too. She's like, I don't have to relate to you for this to be valid. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not questioning you.
Yeah.
I just don't relate to it, you know?
Yeah.
And that
Totally.
helps, I think.
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
helps a lot.
And we can all
I think,
think, you can all think about that, like in all aspects of life, like minorities or whatever. It doesn't mean that those other people don't exist because that's something that you don't experience. It's like, I will never know what that's like to be a person of color or whatever, but I know you exist. Like I'm not gonna take that away from you. I know that you have struggles. I have never experienced those. And the same with people with me. Like, I don't expect you to understand or whatever, but just realize that we are different. And yeah, it's like kind of validation, but
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
I'll ask you a question. Okay, I want to ask you this a bit more, I guess, like positive. Like, have you found ways to express your gender identity that feel authentic to you?
Yes. I think that for me, going back to when the first question of that, I've always had it in my mind and I've always been so headstrong about not really caring what's right or wrong or not knowing from the start. And then when I did know, I was like, well, I just feel so uncomfortable wearing clothes that were designed for women. I just don't feel like myself. I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel confident. I don't feel happy. And I need to listen to that. Otherwise, I just turn into a totally different person. But I think that if it's listening to other people and society, if you kind of let that take over your brain, that's when you're not authentic. If you kind of listen to your body, what feels good, what makes you feel like you, that's when you're being authentic. And sometimes that might be something that surprises you. Like, I think my partner has done like a really good job in kind of pushing my boundaries a little bit, in that I would never shop in the women's section ever, because I'm like, no, I don't want, like, it just doesn't feel good. And she's like, just try it. Some things might fit better. Some things might feel good. And it's like playing with clothes, playing with roles and working out what feels good, even if it's typically a gendered thing or a stereotype of a gendered thing. You know, some things, might feel better. Like, I take out the bins. I do that. That's my job. Typically, like, mask person, fine. I'm trying to think of something that I do that's
Do you take care of your skin?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Would you consider that more of a feminine thing?
I think it's becoming more
Gender neutral,
of
right?
a,
Like
I think
everyone does it. Yeah.
well-being and looking after yourself, skincare is becoming now more of a thing, like everyone should do it. I think you see these big guys with beards and they're like, oh, like, I'm oiling my beard and getting it trimmed every week and stuff. Like, I think that's becoming like manscaping or whatever the fuck it's called. Yeah, like,
I think that's what it's called.
manscape.
I love that you're like manscaping.
Manscaping. Yeah, luckily I don't have to do that. But yeah, I look after my skin. I'm getting old now, so I'm getting wrinkles. I'm trying to not have wrinkles, so I do a bit of skincare. I fake tan. Tan now and again because my wife is Italian, I am English, so if I don't fake tan, I look dead next to her. I have to fake tan.
Yeah, I can relate to that too. I got like my one side of my family is German, the other side is Italian, and I definitely got the fairer German complexion. So I just turn red in the sun. I don't really tan.
Yeah. Did I answer your question right?
Yeah, I can't even remember what it was. Oh yeah, I remember.
When I feel authentic. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah.
perhaps doing things and trying things that might surprise you, no matter what gender it's supposed to be for, sold to you as capitalism. Let's not go into that, but it plays a role in everything. It has to, because people need to sell you stuff to specific audiences. But for us, it can be a positive thing. We can try whatever the fuck we want because, there's no rules. We can break the rules.
Yeah,
Great.
100%. I think, like, for me, probably the thing that's been the most sort of like where I experience the most gender euphoria, where I really feel like, oh, this really feels like me. I don't even really know exactly what it is, but I know it's not a man or a woman. It just feels like me. Is like definitely like physical stuff. So if I'm boxing or doing like jiu-jitsu and I don't do martial arts as much now, but now I do a lot of weightlifting, and I'm like, this really, for me, I'm like, I don't think women can't do this. Of course, I think women can't do this. I don't think men can do this. Of course, I think men can do this. But it just feels like I'm really in my body. And I think because I really felt like for such a long time, it's like I wasn't in my body. And I know that can sound really weird, but that's how I felt. I was like, oh, I feel in my body now. And that's why I'm like, when people are like, why do you have to be in? I'm like, because I'm in my body and I don't want to give that up again. So I look for experiences like that. And I used to wear lots of dresses and lots of like skirts and things. And now I just like, since I felt like that, I just can't do it. I'm like, I can wear like tops that are sometimes maybe a bit more like that. It's not, I buy from both. Like I buy from men's and women's areas because I'm like, there's something about the movement that doesn't feel right. There's something about the way it sits that I'm like, I remember feeling like this at school. I was like, we'd have mufti day and I'd be in jeans. I'm like, finally I can just sit like how I would normally sit, you know? Actually, like for me, I feel like it's, I do think that clothes that have been designed for women traditionally are designed to keep you not moving. You know, they're tight, they're uncomfortable, they show the feminine figure. I'm like, I love the feminine figure. I have an absolute appreciation for the female body, but I'm like, but I don't want to wear that, and I don't need like the person I'm with to wear that stuff either, because I'm like, that doesn't, you know, that's just wrapping, you know, and if that wrapping is uncomfortable, like why, like it's impractical, you know. But the funny thing is sometimes I'll see like trans women or non-binary people who were assigned, you know, male sex at birth, and I'm like, oh, I actually kind of think that's cool. And I think it's because I'm like, it's a different statement. It's like it has a different meaning to it to me. And so I think that's interesting. I haven't worked all of that stuff out yet, but I know you didn't ask me a question, but I just wanted to.
No, I did want to throw it back at you. I just didn't say it. I did it with my mind.
I was mind reading, you know.
Right. And I totally agree. Like with when it comes to sports and things, like especially kind of individual sports, because when it comes to team sports, generally it's gendered, men's and women's teams. But I used to be a snowboarder, and I loved that snowboarding is just, it's down to you. And I think it's the state of flow when, you say you're in your body. You don't think about anything else. You're just concentrating on that thing that you love to do, that just your mind just goes, and it's incredible. And I'm totally going through this journey again with getting back to nature. And I just wanted to I feel that when you said like in the gym or weightlifting or doing those things. I feel like when I'm in nature, like nature's not judging us. Nature's there. We can go out and enjoy it. And that's when I feel just like myself. Like trees aren't going to misgender me. I'm going to go and hang out with the trees.
I feel like that's a very good like note to end it on as well. Like to kind of go from that, you know, where we started to kind of being at a point where it's sort of like just being in the world instead of trying to fit into the world, you know, like I'm just going to be here and do my thing. And
I don't want it to be like the only thing that people care about me, the only thing that people worry about talking to me, or I'm Joe, like, and I am so many things. Being non-binary is like this part of me. It is a very important part of me. It's a very strong part of me. It's exactly who I am. But in the grand scheme of things, we're all humans. We're all people. We all have so many things that make us us. Like, it's not a big thing. Really, is it?
I feel like it's it's everything, and it's also not. I don't know, like it's like to me, I'm like being in my body is everything, but I'm also like, because it really actually all of this gender bullshit doesn't matter. That's why it's so important.
I listened to a podcast yesterday, and I don't know if you've heard of it. We Can Do Hard Things.
Yeah, I love that podcast. It's like one of my. I love Abby Wambach too.
So
like, oh my god,
yeah, legend. But they said about, I think it was Tignatara said, like, the quote with the bad news is nothing matters, or which way around it was, I'm not sure. The bad thing is nothing matters, and the good news is everything matters. I think it's the other way around. I don't know. You get what I mean?
Yeah. I literally listened to that like a week ago. Like,
it was amazing. Yeah. So on that note, whichever way around it is, everything matters, nothing matters. Get in the woods. Thank you so much for watching this video. We really hope that you enjoyed this type of conversation and this type of content, and that hopefully some of you found it quite useful. Please feel free to give us a thumbs up and just write some comments below if you can relate to any of the topics, and if there's anything else that you would like us to cover if we were to have another chat. Please remember, we are all humans, we have feelings, we encourage questions and curiosity as long as we all feel safe and respected. See you next week.